Hey y'all, Michelle Raza here with the Finding Yourself Book Club, and today we're going to continue our Science Fiction Saturday series, reading Robert Heinlein's *Stranger in a Strange Land*. Last time we left off, I think it was chapter 4, so I'm just going to continue and do about 10 minutes. So, Jill Boardman spent the rest of her watch in a mild daze. She managed to avoid any mistakes in medication, and she answered from reflex the usual verbal overtures made to her. But the face of the man from Mars stayed in her mind, and she mulled over the crazy things he had said. No, not crazy, she corrected. She had done her stint in psychiatric wards, and she felt certain that his remarks had not been psychotic. She decided that innocent was the proper term. Then she decided that the word was not adequate. His expression was innocent, but his eyes were not. What sort of creature had a face like that? She had once worked in a Catholic hospital. She suddenly saw the face of the man from Mars surrounded by the headdress of a nursing sister, a nun. The idea disturbed her, for there was nothing female about Smith's face. She was changing into street clothes when another nurse stuck her head into the locker room. "Phone, Jill, for you." Jill accepted the call, sound without vision, while she continued to dress. "Is this Florence Nightingale?" a baritone voice asked. "Speaking. That you, Ben?" The stalwart upholder of the freedom of the press in person. "Little one, are you busy?" "What do you have in mind?" "I have in mind taking you out, buying you a bloody steak, plying you with liquor, and asking you a question." The answer is still no. Not that question. Another one. "Oh, do you know another one? If so, tell me." "Later. I want you softened up by food and liquor first." "Real steak? Not syntho?" "Guaranteed. When you stick a fork into it, it'll turn imploring eyes on you." "You must be on an expense account, Ben." "That's irrelevant and ignoble. How about it?" "You've talked me into it." The roof of the medical center, 10 minutes. She put the street suit she had changed into back into her locker and put on a dinner dress kept there for emergencies. It was a demure little number, barely translucent, and with bustle and bust pads so subdued that they merely recreated the effect she would have produced had she been wearing nothing. The dress had cost her a month's pay and did not look it, its subtle power being concealed like knockout drops in a drink. Jill looked at herself with satisfaction and took the bounce tube up to the roof. There, she pulled her cape around her against the wind and was looking for Ben Caxton when the roof orderly touched her arm. "There's a car over there paging you, Miss Boardman. That Talbot Saloon." "Thanks, Jack." She saw the taxi spotted for takeoff with its door open. She went to it, climbed in, and was about to hand Ben a backhanded compliment on gallantry when she saw that he was not inside. The taxi was on automatic. Its doors closed and took to the air, swung out of the circle, and sliced across the Potomac. Jill sat back and waited. The taxi stopped on a public landing flat over Alexandria, and Ben Caxton got in. It took off again. Jill looked him over grimly. "My, aren't we getting important? Since when has your time become so valuable that you send a robot to pick up your woman?" He reached over, patted her knee, and said gently, "Reasons, little one, reasons. I can't afford to be seen picking you up." "Well, and you can't afford to be seen being picked up by me. So simmer down. I apologize. I bow in the dust. I kiss your little foot, but it was necessary." Which one of us has leprosy?" "Both of us in different ways, Jill. I'm a newspaperman." "I was beginning to think you were something else." "And you are a nurse at the hospital where they are holding the man from Mars." He spread his hands and shrugged. "Keep talking. Does that make me unfit to meet your mother?" "Do you need a map, Jill? There are more than 1,000 reporters in this area, not counting press agents, axe grinders, Winchells, Lippmans, and the stampede that headed this way when the Champion landed. Every one of them has been trying to interview the man from Mars, including me. So far as I know, none has succeeded. Do you think it would be smart for us to be seen leaving the hospital together? Maybe not. But I don't really see that it matters. I'm not the man from Mars. He looked her over. You certainly aren't. But maybe you're going to help me see him, which is why I didn't want to be seen picking you up. Huh? Ben, you've been out in the sun without your hat. They've got a Marine guard around him. She thought about the fact that she herself had not found the guard too hard to circumvent. Decided not to mention it. So they have. So we'll talk it over. I don't see what there is to talk about. Later. I didn't intend to let the subject come up until I had softened you with animal proteins and ethanol. Let's eat first. Now you sound rational. Where? Would your expense account run to the new Mayflower? You are on an expense account, aren't you? Caxton frowned. Jill, if we eat in a restaurant, I wouldn't want to risk one closer than Louisville. It would take this hack more than 2 hours to get us that far. How about dinner in my apartment? Said the spider to the fly. Ben, I remember the last time. I'm too tired to wrestle. Nobody asked you to. Strictly business. King's X, cross my heart and hope to die. I don't know as I like that much better. If I'm safe alone with you, I must be slipping. Well, all right, King's X. Caxton leaned forward and punched buttons. The taxi, which had been circling under a hold instruction, woke up, looked around, and headed for the apartment hotel where Ben lived. He then dialed a phone number and said to Jill, How much time do you want to get liquored up, Sugarfoot? I'll tell the kitchen one to have the steaks ready. Jill considered it. Ben, your mousetrap has a private kitchen. Of sorts. I can grill a steak, if that's what you mean. I'll grill the steak. Hand me the phone. She gave orders, stopping to make sure that Ben liked, I don't know how to pronounce this, endive. Endive. The taxi dropped them on the roof and they went down to his flat. It was unstylish and old-fashioned. Its one luxury was a live grass lawn in the living room. Jill stopped in the entrance hall, slipped off her shoes, then stepped barefooted into the living room and wiggled her toes among the cool green blades. She sighed. My, that feels good. My feet have hurt ever since I entered training. Sit down. No, I want my feet to remember this tomorrow when I'm on duty. Suit yourself. He went into his pantry and mixed drinks. Presently, she pattered after him and became domestic. The steak was waiting in the package lift. With it were pre-baked potatoes ready to be popped into shortwave. She tossed the salad, handed it to the refrigerator, then set up a combination on the stove to grill the steak and have the potatoes hot simultaneously, but did not start the cycle. Ben, doesn't this stove have a remote control? Of course. Well, I can't find it. He studied the setup on the control panel, then flipped an unmarked switch. Jill, what would you do if you had to cook over an open fire? I'd do darn well. I was a Girl Scout and a good one. How about you, smarty? He ignored it, picked up a tray, and went back into the living room. She followed and sat down at his feet, spreading her skirt to avoid grass stains. They applied themselves seriously to martinis. Opposite his chair was a stereovision tank disguised as an aquarium. He switched it on from his chair. Guppies and tetras faded out and gave way to the face of a commentator, the well-known Winchell Augustus Greaves. It can be stated authoritatively, the stereo image was saying, that the man from Mars is being kept constantly under hypnotic drugs to keep him from disclosing these facts. The administration would find it extremely embarrassing if... Caxton flipped it off. Gus, old boy, he said pleasantly, you don't know a darn thing more about it than I do. He frowned, though you might be right about the government keeping him under drugs. No, they aren't, Jill said suddenly. How's that, little one? The man from Mars isn't being kept under hypnotics. Having blurted more than she had meant to, she added carefully, he's got a nurse and a doctor all to himself on continuous watch, but there aren't any orders for sedation. Are you sure? You aren't one of his nurses, or are you? No, they're male nurses. Matter of fact, there's an order to keep women away from him entirely, and a couple of tough Marines to make sure of it. Caxton nodded. I heard about that. Fact is, you don't know whether they are drugging him or not, do you? Jill stared into her empty glass. She felt annoyed to have her word doubted, but realized she would have to tell on herself to back up what she had said. Ben, you wouldn't give me away, would you? Give you away? How? Any way at all? That covers a lot of ground, but I'll go along. All right, pour me another one first. He did so. Jill went on. I know they don't have the man from Mars hopped up, because I talked with him. Caxton gave a slow whistle. I knew it. When I got up this morning, I said to myself, go see Jill. She's the ace up my sleeve. Honey lamb, have another drink. Have 6. Here, take the pitcher. Not so fast, thanks. Whatever you like. May I rub your poor tired feet? Lady, you are about to be interviewed. Your public waits with quivering impatience. Now let's begin at the beginning. How? No, Ben, you promised. Remember? You quote me just one little quote and I'll lose my job. Probably. How about from a usually reliable source? I'd be scared. Well, are you going to tell Uncle Ben? Are you going to let him die of frustration and then eat that steak by yourself? Oh, I'll talk, now that I've talked this much, but you can't use it. Ben kept quiet and did not press his luck. Jill described how she had outflanked the guards. He interrupted. Say, could you do that again? Huh? I suppose so, but I won't. It's risky. Well, could you slip me in that way? Of course you could. Look, I'll dress up like an electrician. Greasy coveralls, union badge, toolkit. You just slip me the passkey and... No! Huh? Look, baby girl, be reasonable. I'll bet you 4 to 1 that half the hospital staffers around him are ringers, stuck in there by one news service or another. This is the greatest human interest story since Columbo conned Isabella into hawking her jewels. The only thing that worries me is that I may find another phony electrician. The only thing that worries me, Jill interrupted. To you, it's just a story. To me, it's my career. They'd take away my cap, my pin, and ride me out of town on a rail. I'd be finished as a nurse. There's that. There sure is that. Lady, you are about to be offered a bribe. How big a bribe? It'll take quite a chunk to keep me in style the rest of my life in Rio. Well, the story is worth money, of course, but you can't expect me to outbid Associated Press or Reuters. How about 100? What do you think I am? We settled that. We're dickering over a price. 150? Pour me another drink, and I'll look up the phone number of Associated Press for me. That's a lamb. It's capital 10 9000. Jill, will you marry me? That's as high as I can go. She looked up at him, startled. What did you say? Will you marry me? Then, when they ride you out of town on a rail, I'll be waiting at the city line and take you away from your sordid existence. You'll come back here and cool your toes in my grass, our grass, and forget your ignominy. But you've darn well got to sneak me into that hospital room first. Ben, you sound almost serious. If I phone for a fair witness, will you repeat the offer? Caxton sighed. Jill, you are a hard woman. Send for a witness. She stood up. Ben, she said softly, I won't hold you to it. She rumpled his hair and kissed him. But don't ever joke about marriage to a spinster. I wasn't joking. I wonder. Wipe off the lipstick and I'll tell you everything I know. Then we'll consider how you can use it without me getting ridden on that rail. Fair enough? She gave him a detailed account. I'm sure he wasn't drugged. I'm equally sure that he was rational, although why I'm sure I don't know, for he talked in the oddest fashion and asked the darndest questions. But I'm sure he isn't psychotic. It would be odder still if he hadn't talked in an odd fashion. Huh? Use your head, Jill. We don't know much about Mars, but we do know that Mars is very unlike Earth, and that Martians, whatever they are, certainly are not human. Suppose you were suddenly popped into a tribe so far back in the jungle that they had never laid eyes on a white woman. Would you know all the sophisticated small talk that comes from a lifetime of a culture? Or would your conversation sound odd? That's a very mild analogy. The truth in this case is at least 40 million miles stranger. Jill nodded. I figured that out, and that's why I discounted his odd remarks. I'm not dumb. No, you're real bright for a female. Would you like this martini poured in your thinning hair? I apologize. Women are a lot smarter than men. That is proved by our whole cultural setup. Gimme, I'll fill it. She accepted the peace offerings and went on. Ben, that order about not letting him see women. It's silly. He's no sex fiend. No doubt they don't want to hand him too many shocks at once. He wasn't shocked. He was just interested. It wasn't like having a man look at me at all. If you had humored him on that request for a private viewing, you might have had your hands full. He probably has all the instincts and no inhibitions. Huh? I don't think so. I suppose they've told him about male and female. He just wanted to see how women are different. Vive la différence, Caxton answered enthusiastically. Don't be more vulgar than you have to be. Me? I wasn't being vulgar. I was being reverent. I was giving thanks to all the gods that I was born human and not Martian. Be serious. There's still a few pages. There's still a few pages and I'm at 16 minutes. Okay, I will record more later. It's a long chapter. All right, I hope that you like and subscribe. I love seeing your comments. If you would like to see something or listen to something a little more serious, we have two different playlists. We have a few different playlists actually. Recommendations of John Gottman on video, if you want to see that. His What Makes Love Last series is another playlist that we have. The works of Lindsay Gibson, and now I've gone into, so that's Coping with Emotionally Immature Parents. And now I've gone into her second book, Recovering from Emotionally Immature Parents. And then we just created a new playlist recently about coping with domestic violence. And those are videos from the Duluth model, which basically talks about the power and control wheel. So really good stuff. Please do check it out. Please like and subscribe. I hope you like this silly Saturday series. If you don't, please check out the more serious stuff and contact us. I love hearing from you guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk next Saturday. Take care.